Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. With Mr. Frame. You're still under oath, Mr. Frame?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Frank.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kelly.
I wanted to clean up a couple things. I told you I'd try to find while not wasting your time, so I looked over the lunch hour. With respect to the exchange that we had about Mr. Simmons and Monosol and the Con Est bid, that was actually a question that was put together by Mr. Saldinger and I, your deposition that's found on page 173. And with Mr. Saldinger's assistance, we came up with this question for you. And I'll read what Mr. Saldinger said. What I am saying is that your question, which I had you clarify, was, did he know, meaning Mr. Frank, that Jim Simmons was working on a bid for Monosol line 18? Did Mr. Frame know that prior to Mr. Frame leaving Sargent? Isn't that your question? Mr. Kelly, that's what I asked him. Mr. Saldinger, okay. And then answer that question, the witness. I'll have to tell you that Jim may have mentioned this to me. That's what you told me, right?
Can you read the rest of the answer? As long as he's quoting, at least read the full answer instead of, he cuts it off right in the middle.
Well, Mr. Saldinger, fine.
I'm not sorry, Judge. I just suggest the whole context should be read. Or else I'm going to be going back and just reading the deposition in myself.
It's a new question. I asked a new question, Your Honor. Does he want me to read my next question?
I want you to read the rest of the answer. That if you're going to read it.
Is there more to the answer, counsel?
No. It starts with a question. Do you have a proposed letter that goes with this that shows the date that it was submitted? And I said, do you know if it was submitted? I don't know that. That's testimony that's already in evidence.
The court can certainly read it for
page 173.
173. The answer he gives on line 13.
Which I just read.
And then he goes on lines 18 through 18 and 19.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sure that's good.
And the other thing, Mr. Frank, that we looked at was if you, for a second, take a look at hearing exhibit book 91 through 130. Do you have that binder? And if you would look for a second at exhibit 92. Do you have that?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Frank, this morning we had talked about an individual named Paul Turgovich, right?
Yes.
And we had mentioned that you, while at MJ, had communicated with Paul Schumann, who was still working at Sargent, to contact or talk with Mr. Turgovich about possibly working at MJ Electric, correct?
We did, yes.
And I told you I would show you an email this afternoon once I found it that had that exchange, right? So here's, if you go to the third page of that exhibit, which is actually where the exchange starts between you and Mr. Schumann. You're saying on February 14th, 2014 at 2:44 p.m. Great. MJ has Instrumentation Division, PCI, like a check, Opportunity ASAP. Also, what about Turkovich for the instrument? I'm calling it instrument, it's abbreviated. Think he'd be interested. Schumann, in the email just above. Yes, I am sure he is interested. FYI, I will be interviewing for the new position just to keep things smooth. And then, if you turn forward, I guess is how you would do this, to page 2 of that email, there's another exchange where there's a reference to a person named Chuck. Now, is that Chuck Wheat?
Yes, it is.
And is Chuck Wheat someone who works for Sargent?
He does.
And at the same time, were you communicating with Chuck about possibly joining MJ Electric?
No, it was not.
And there's an email from you to Mr. Schumann saying, thanks, Paul. It's going to be great. Chuck is hanging in there in T.R.O. Tammy, his wife, just got a big promotion and all is good. He'll put up with Sargent's BS because he has a great local setup. What's that mean?
You're guessing. It means that Chuck lives in T.R.O. and his wife, Tammy, has a good job there. And it sounds like he'll stay. He's going to stay where he is. He has a good job. He's been there a long time. He's a valued employee.
Yeah, and what BS is he putting up with?
Well, I don't know what that is.
You just thought you'd put it in there.
I probably did, yes.
And then, with respect to Mr. Turkovich, when you were communicating with Mr. Schumann, he was still an employee at Sargent, right? On February 14th, Paul Schumann was an employee at Sargent Electric, right?
I'd have to check that, but if you're saying yes.
Well,
I don't know what he wants.
I thought you told me this morning you didn't hire him until the week of February 17th,
was
right?
on Monday, so I don't know when Paul left. I don't know that date.
Did Mr. Schumann quit before the
I don't know. I was gone. I don't know that, Mr. Kennedy.
And you were sending this not to his Sargent Electric address, but to his personal email too, right?
Where is this?
If you look
It
at
appears to be
page
his personal, yes, sir.
Yeah, if you look on page 3, you're communicating with Mr. Schumann on February 14th through his personal email, right?
Yes, sir.
Which you had, right?
I do.
It was part of your contact list, right?
Paul and I have been friends a long time.
Right, it's part of your contact list, right?
He's a friend, yes.
Now, with respect to page very first page of this exhibit 92, there's an email between you and Mr. Schumann is relating to one of the enticements, the MJ truck, right? You see that at the top, Mr. Schumann, to you?
I do.
February 18th. And you're telling him you can get the truck, and he's saying awesome, right?
Yes, sir, that's what it says.
Now, with respect to another topic we talked about this morning, which was your contacts at BP and ArcelorMittal and elsewhere. If you set up meetings, since you have been at MJ for the purpose of introducing MJ executives to your contacts.
I am.
And where have those meetings been?
We've been at BP, we've been at ArcelorMittal, we've been at US Steel.
And when did those meetings occur?
Oh gosh, I couldn't remember the dates.
And you set those up through your contacts, not MJ providing you with those contacts, right?
Yes, with the exception, I misspoke earlier, MJ did have a connect at NISCO, and then J.Jack, who's the vice president of procurement, they had a long history with him.
And the meeting in NIPSCO, who set that up? You or MJ?
Myself, yes.
Now, with respect to bidding, we also looked at some information this morning that related to the, I think the last one we looked at that related to bidding was the time and material estimate that was going to ArcelorMittal on behalf of MJ Electric. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And as it relates to that, when you first started working at MJ, you were trying to learn what the bidding processes and procedures were at MJ, right?
I don't think I'm following what you're saying there.
Well, let me ask it a different way. When you first started at MJ, did you ask if there was a labor estimating manual that would be useful for use in the Northwest Indiana market?
You know, I did ask about that, and they have that in their system in Iron Mountain. And they have a little different system than what Sargent had.
At the time, isn't it true that when you first asked that question, you found there was no such manual?
He told me that there wasn't one printed. That's correct.
You told me at your deposition there wasn't such a manual, right?
That's what he said. Yes.
That's what you said. Right. There was no such manual, right?
That's what I was told.
And as it relates to an AccuBid system, one of the problems that you advise with an AccuBid system is that it's a canned system, right?
Well, when you buy it, you get the labor rates that are in it.
And the canned system isn't one that would work for bidding heavy industrial type work, correct?
I think you'd have to modify it for your own purposes.
In heavy industrial work, modifying the system for heavy industrial work, that would mean modifying it for things like steel and petrochemical operations, correct?
No, but it'd be the same for power and utility.
Right.
They're all the same units.
Right. But my question was, heavy industrial that you worked on was steel and petrochemical, correct?
And power.
And with respect to steel and the petrochemical area, that's something you would describe as heavy industrial work, right?
I did.
Now, and earlier we had also discussed, didn't we, Mr. Frank, something that's known as a labor unit? And what's a labor unit?
As I said earlier, it's a measurement of the amount of time that it takes to put in a measurement of work.
And can you give an example for the court of how a labor unit
It would be,
works?
yes, it would be how long it takes, how many man hours or fraction thereof it takes to put one of these lights in, or to rough in all the 100-foot conduit, or to pull 1,000 feet of wire, or to put in a big a power panel, or a lighting contactor, or receptacles, etc., things like that.
Right. And labor units are something that are essential parts of estimates, right?
Everybody uses them, yes, sir.
And when you're bidding against a competitor, you don't share information about labor units, right?
You know, Counselor, everybody's labor units are pretty doggone close. They're all based off of NECA units. They're published, and they're used a variation thereof. And typically, everybody's real close on their labor units.
Let me read a couple of places where we discussed labor units. At page 93, well, let's start at page 92. Line 24. Right. Did you ever send Sargent's labor units to competitors? Gosh, not that I can recall. And you wouldn't, correct? Answer, I can't recall why I would do that. Right, because it would be a violation of both the employee manual and the information technology usage policy, correct? Witness, it could be. I just don't know what you're talking about. Question, would you agree with me that a conveyance of any information relating to labor units from Sargent would be both a violation of the confidentiality provisions of the employee manual and the information technology usage policy? I guess it would depend on in what context it was sent out. If it was a bid or a proposal or what it was. Did you ever convey to a competitor, let's start there, to MCOR information about labor units that Sargent used? Not that I can recall at this time. Question, and you wouldn't, because that would be harmful to your competitive position, right? If your competitors knew what your labor units. Answer, it could be, but yes. Then he says, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, you told me earlier that labor units are important because they are a component part of how you actually arrive at your rates for competitive bids, correct? Correct. And it's based on how projects finish, you told me, right? That you look at historical data to make sure to make sure that you move and correct your labor units, right? Answer, part of it is yes, sir. So, when we talked about labor units earlier, as I understand it, it's not common in the industry when you're bidding to share your labor units with your competitors, right?
That's correct. It wouldn't be common. My comment was everybody's labor units are real close to each other.
Right. But they're also confidential information. You don't know right now, as you're bidding against anyone, what somebody else's labor units are, right?
No, I don't know the exact, but I got a pretty good idea. We're all doing the same work.
Yeah, but the point is MCOR sending to you on any projects that you're working on right now at MJ Electric what MCOR's labor units are?
No, I haven't answered. No, sir.
Then that's confidential information, right?
Okay, yeah, I guess it is that confidential information. I guess from my point of view is labor units, once you're in the industry, we're all so close. If their labor units were so much better than anybody else, they'd have all the work, Counselor. That's all. That's one.
Yeah, and Mr. Frank, just to make sure I do understand what you mean, labor units are a component part of how you make an estimate, right?
One of the parts, yes, sir.
And one of the reasons labor units are important is because they back into man hours, correct? And then man hours back into what the cost of labor is going to be on any particular project, right?
Component of it, yes, sir.
And that bid package that you put together with all those component parts based off labor units are confidential information that you don't, in the normal course, share with your competitors, right?
That's correct. Because
that's confidential information, right, Mr. Frank?
Yes, sir.
Now, and would you agree with me this afternoon that estimating is a sophisticated process?
It is a sophisticated process, yes.
And that it's actually one of the engines that drives the company's competitive position in the marketplace, right? Your ability to estimate?
Yes, yes.
And the more skillful you are at estimating, the better you are at obtaining work and performing that work in the attempt to generate profits, right?
Yes.
And the process of the process of estimating relies heavily on experience, correct?
Yes, it does.
And the best guide to estimating is actually understanding what happened on previous jobs, right?
not previous jobs, experience in the industry, yes, sir.
Do you recall the discussion you and I had at your deposition about one of the best guides to estimating and preparing estimates is the outcome of previous jobs?
I would say that's correct.
And then, as I understand the estimating process from, among others, from you, Mr. Frank, as you described it, you would rely on that expertise and experience based on the confidential information you have to adjust labor units as appropriate for any particular job, correct?
As you do each job, yes, you would look at it and adjust your units up and down, yes, sir.
And in order for estimating the work at its highest and best level, the company needs to have employees who have experience working at any particular facility where you're bidding, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it's to your advantage to have employees who have worked at USS, correct? And have experience bidding jobs at USS, right?
Yes.
Or at BP, right?
Right.
Or at NIPSCO, right?
Right.
Or at ArcelorMittal, right?
Right.
And as it relates to that ability, as a result of having those kinds of employees with that kind of understanding of past outcomes of jobs, you're also able to bet up or down labor units in any can bid number that might appear, right?
Adjust the labor units?
Yes.
That's we run on everything.
Right. And now, with respect to that experience and historic knowledge, at some point, Mr. Frank, in January, did you put together or ask to have filled banker boxes with documents from your office?
What I did was, after a couple years of very large jobs and a lot of work at BP, US, at the mills, etc., my meetings, my office was just cluttered. It was just full. I had 3 banker boxes in my bathroom. I had proposals on the floor. My credential was packed. My bookshelf was overflowing. It was stacked halfway to the ceiling. My file cabinets were packed up. So I asked to get me numerous banker's boxes, and I started packaging up the materials in there, and I would mark it the best I could. And I took packaging tape, and I put the lid on, and I taped it once on both sides. And I asked Dave Wright, our warehouse foreman, to take them outside, put them on a pallet, put them in wrapping cellophane, and to leave them there and see what we're going to put them. We had so much equipment, material, safety equipment. The shop was inundated with what was coming from back from BP. We had done $380 million jobs and it topped out at almost 1,200 people. So you can imagine, our yard was full. We had nowhere to store things. We had rented a warehouse in Crown Point, Indiana, and I told Dave to take these boxes out there and put them out there, and then a few weeks later, when I knew I was leaving, I asked him to go get them and bring them back.
Okay. And that all started with this question, which was, did you fill 9 bankers' boxes of data that related to projects that you had been working on recently for, among others, BP?
Yes.
And those banker boxes were filled with data that ranged from historic information about what you've done on the job at BP to estimates. Is that correct?
A whole potpourri. Had meetings, had change orders, had some proposals, had just a potpourri of information.
And that potpourri of information, as you just described it, included not only what you had in your office for BP, but for other customers too. Can you identify for the court who some of those other offices were, or I'm sorry, who some of those other customers were?
There were NIPSCO proposals, there were steel proposals from Marshall Middle, from U.S. Steel blast furnaces that we had done in the past. There were some estimates and proposals from power plants that we had estimated, just meeting minutes, just all kinds of things.
And it's all stuff that you had decided to hold on to and not throw away, right, Mr. Frank?
Well, typically that's what we did. We box it up and put it off to the side.
Right.
But the warehouse was overflowing and there was nowhere to put it.
And typically you would store those things in the Sargent Electric warehouse, right?
We would typically, but as I stated earlier, with the amount of equipment, materials, etc., tools that were coming back, the place was just, there was no room for anything.
And the boxes that, did you direct that those 9 banker boxes filled with that information be sent off-site?
I did. As I said, I told them to just go to the warehouse we were renting in Crown Point, and I said, they'll store them down there. We didn't have a fork truck there, and we would use the landlord's fork truck. And I had talked to him, as I told in my deposition, I had talked to the landlord about getting some additional space in his warehouse, and he said that he could give us a stackable shelving unit over by the wall, and we'd be able to stack up a bunch of materials, boxes, safety equipment, etc.
And that landlord was Mr. Amadeo?
That's correct.
Longtime friend of yours?
That's correct.
Who runs a flower shop there?
That's correct.
And with respect to that location, the space that Sargent rented actually wasn't available to have the boxes stored. He had to use some space of Mr. Amadeo's to store those boxes, correct?
I was told by Mr. Wright that the place was, we're running out of room, so I asked Mr. Amadeo if we could get at least some more space from him. And that's when he told me what we could have along the wall. So I told Dave to take those boxes down there and we could store them. They'd be dry, they'd be clean, etc.
And that's the same space, correct, that now houses the MJ Electric office?
It is.
And the boxes were gone for how long?
I don't remember. It was a couple of weeks, he said.
2 or 3 weeks?
I think they said a couple of weeks, I'm not sure.
And you sent those boxes out in January of 2014, right?
I didn't remember the dates. I think you said January. I thought you told me.
Well, I'm not testifying. I'm asking
you said in a deposition when it was. So that's about when it was. It was in early January, I believe.
Yeah. What this process is about, as I told you at your deposition, and I'll remind you right now, is what you know, as you sit here under oath, and I don't testify. Neither does your counsel. Nobody else testifies except you. So let me start again. Do you have a recollection of sending those boxes to Mr. Amadeo's space in January of 2014?
I do.
And
it was either late December or early January, sometime.
Okay, thank you. And by that time, as we discussed, you knew that you were going to leave Sargent Electric, right?
It was later on, after the boxes were gone.
And with respect to, you were looking for a job by then. You'd been talking to Caverner, and you told Harry Rochelle that you were interested in looking elsewhere for jobs. So by late December, you were in the process of leaving Sargent Electric, correct?
I was discussing that, yes.
And by January, you and Mr. Voss had decided you were going to leave Sargent Electric, right?
Yes, I did.
And that's certainly when you told MJ Electric on January 14th, right? You were going to leave Sargent Electric.
On January 14th was our initial meeting. I didn't tell MJ that I was leaving Sargent.
Okay. At any rate, the boxes then you said were returned.
I told Dave Wright to go get them and bring them back.
And you asked that they be sent back, correct? Because of the information that was in there that was of a historic nature that could be of value to Sargent Electric employees if they wanted to refer to that at some other point, should they decide they wanted to bid or have proposals in connection with any other jobs for BP or ArcelorMittal or NIPSCO or whoever else was in that box, right?
Well, mainly, you have to bid every job, so these proposals really aren't very useful to you. But there was information there off the monthly meeting minutes that we had with Sachs, with Coker and the Go. Yes, I did tell them to go get it, bring it back here, because I was leaving. That's what I did.
Right. And you asked them to bring it back because it could be of value to Sargent, correct?
It was Sargent. Yes, I guess you could say that.
Now, if we look for a second, Mr. Frank, at what we had looked at earlier this morning, I think your tabs are probably still attached to this, but in particular, if you would turn to Exhibit 101. Your Honor, this is the binder that we have hearing exhibits 91 through 130 in. Mr. Frank, do you see that hearing book?
Yes.
And we have tab 101 that relates to or found in that book. Thank you. Now, Mr. Frank, earlier today too, we had decided we should add a couple of places that have attachments that relate to your laptop at Sargent, you call it.
Yes.
And so what I'd like to do is have you look for a second at what was marked as attachment A as an apple. So hopefully we have a tab for A. And now, Mr. Frank, we've talked a little bit about the fact that you have used these, I think you call it a key, if you're familiar with USB devices and flash drives that go into computers, right? The flash drives are sometimes called thumb drives, and they go into laptops to either convey information from the drive or to gather information from the laptop onto the drive, right? And there are other devices that also do that. They're called external hard drives that sometimes look sort of like little rectangular boxes, right?
Yes.
And you're familiar with both, right?
That's correct. And
you use both in your laptop, right?
I did, yes.
And the attachment A here is an attachment that reflects various times when devices were plugged into your laptop. And if you look in particular at those that were plugged in during the sequence from January, when you were looking for a job, through your last day at work, February 10th, just wanted to march through those. There's a box that shows USB 2.0 flash disk USB device, parens, transcend, end parens. Do you see that?
Yes.
And that is a flash drive that shows that it was plugged in your laptop for various periods of time on different days from January 9th, 2014 through January 23rd, 2014. You see that?
We do.
And the use of that device included multiple times on January 14th, right? You see that?
No, it's in January 16th.
On USB 2.0 flash disk, this would be the very first page of attachment A.
Okay.
Starts at, on that day, at 8:58, 32 through 10:26:31. Do you see that? And you were inserting and using that flash drive
No,
on
I'm
that.
sorry, Councilman, I'm not following with this. You said it's on page 1 or 2 of attachment A?
Yes, do you not have that?
I do, I'm trying to find the times you said.
May I approach?
Yes, approach.
Mr. Frank, I'm not going to belabor the number of times that you were using this flash drive on 114, but 114 is the date when you were meeting with NJ Electric, right?
I believe so.
And then same device is used again on multiple occasions on 116, right? Between 4:13:29 and 4:35:31 p.m. And that was the day that you told me that you found out that MJ was interested in pursuing further talks with you, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And then, if you look with me, you also used it on multiple occasions on 1/23/2014, between 8:31 in the morning and 10:37 in the morning, right?
Yes.
And that would have been just shortly before you and Mr. You and Mr. Boss went downtown, had lunch with the execs from MJ at Four Seasons, right?
I went there on the 23rd, that's right.
And this also reflects, Mr. Boss, Frame, I'm sorry, that if you look at the total number of occasions when you had different devices, you in your laptop between 1/9/2014 and February 10th, 2014, it actually installed 9 different devices into your laptop, right?
So where are you moving?
Pages 1 of 2 and 2 of 2.
9 different devices?
How do you differentiate the...
Oh, you know what, I'm sorry. I miscounted. You start with USB 2.0 flash disk USB device transcend, right? And we count that as 1, right? Do you see that?
I guess what I'm not following is how
Yeah,
you
maybe,
differentiate...
you know what, Mr. Driver, maybe we can, Jack just had a nice idea. We learned yesterday from Paul that you have some wonderful new technology in the courtroom. And
If you wish, put it up.
it's called Elmo. Yeah, maybe that would be,
Okay, why don't we do that? Paul?
Judge, touch your screen. It's the last one. Yeah. It's ready to go.
Okay.
okay.
Do you know how to operate it? Paul, cool.
We had a quick crash course yesterday, Your Honor, by
Well, too bare out, then I'm... You can probably, you can see it right on the screen behind you, so it comes up. There you go. Well, it's blank.
Okay, we're going to have Paul's hand for a second. Hopefully we'll have the document.
All right.
And now I have to...
Enlarge it.
Yeah, Paul wants to enlarge.
Okay.
Whenever you let you control now.
Okay. So, using Elmo, Mr. Frank, what I was trying to show you was, and I think my pen will come. Do you see that USB 2.0 flash disk USB device transcend?
I do.
And we can count that as one device, right? Do you understand that's a device that can be plugged into your...
That I follow you. I just wasn't following the 9 devices.
And above those, if we counted everything on that page, there would be 4 devices on that page, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Is that accurate? So there are 4 devices shown?
It points to 4, yes.
And then if we had to go to the second page, you see that? So I was simply trying to show you that's another count, and I said 9, but it may be 8. That would be 5, right? Continuing on, 6, 7, 8, right?
Okay.
Plugged into your computer USB devices between January 9th and the day you left from your employment at Sargent's, right? Okay. Now, just leave this here, Your Honor, rather than dismantling it.
Sure.
We need to look at it again.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks very much for the assist. Now, if we look at these devices, the list of these devices, you have returned just one of these devices, right, to Sargent. The one I'm pointing to right now, the WD My Passport 0810 device.
Well, there were 2 passport devices that were left that Sargent has on.
And there were 2, okay. And one of these you carried with you to Iron Mountain, right? You took from Sargent?
No, I never went to Iron Mountain. It was at my house.
Oh, at your house.
My wife FedExed it after I received a letter from Attorney Schaefer.
Okay. And so there are, you just mentioned 2 devices. Do you know which one? There are 2 WD My Passports. There's one that is on page 1 of 2, and I'm pointing to it right now. It's this line. You see that? Is that the one you returned? You told your wife to put in the FedEx package and return?
It was either the 250 or the 500. I don't know which one.
And as to the 250, that's a reference, right, to gigabytes?
Yes, sir.
And 250 gigabytes is the size of this one WD My Passport, right? We're looking at right there.
That's what it says, yes, sir.
Okay. And then there was a second one you're referring to now that says 500. Is Is this your reference to 500? And which one of these two devices, the 250 or the 500, did you have at home?
I don't remember, to be honest with you, but it's got to be on the information if I sent it to Mr. Shaver.
And you say that there was a second device that was returned to Sargent. I know you don't know which is which, but how was the second device returned to Sargent?
It wasn't returned. It was in my desk on the left-hand drawer. And I said to our counsel that I think there's a passport in my left drawer. It's where it was in a black pouch. That's how you buy them. And I believe they notified Sargent's counsel, and that they looked, and that's where it went.
And as for the other devices that you have plugged in to your device or to your laptop between January, let's strike that, between December of 2013 and February 10, 2014 when you left. Where are those devices?
I don't know where they're at, counsel, and I don't know.
Did you, as part of your normal process of checking out when you resigned, meet with anyone to turn in your equipment? Mr. Borders, I handed in my laptop, the keys, my credit card, and my cell phone. And that was the extent of the accident. Did you bother to gather up your USB devices and turn those in that day? No, sir, I didn't. I don't even know if I have. We used them in the normal course of business. We used many of them. Right. And as to those USB devices, you didn't gather them up and turn them in that day, right? I don't know that I have. Well, my question is, did you hand those in the day you left? I did not hand in. And I didn't take any. And with respect to the devices, if we look for a second at a couple of the documents that were on those devices. And Paul, I think at this point I'm done with Elmo. Your Honor, now I'm going to turn, and Mr. Frame, I'm going to turn to the other tab, which is tab L.
I did. He'll go off.
It's great technology. Okay, so now we're back to old-fashioned technology. I don't know if you call it technology at all, Mr. Frame, but we're back to the exhibit book. And as I said, and for the record, it would be exhibit 101.
Oh, it's a seal.
And it would be attachment L. And Mr. Frame, here I just wanted to run through a couple of documents with you. If you turn to page 1 of 6 on attachment L, are you there? Attachment 1 of 6 again is a list of most recently used documents. This is a list that a computer software program is able to pull up to show what were among the last 50 documents you looked at of any particular type, whether it was a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet. And I think we looked at this list at your deposition, right?
We did, yes, sir.
And I told you about that at your deposition, but I wanted to refresh your memory. So, do you recall that, though?
I do, yes.
Okay. And if you look at Exhibit 20, I'm sorry, page 1 of 6, and I should use the terminology, item 20. You see that?
Yes.
Item 20 relates to ArcelorMittal combined labor rates revision 2. You see that?
Yes.
And you're opening that on January 14th, the day you met with MJ Electric, correct?
That's correct.
And if you look at item number 19, just above it, you're looking at ArcelorMittal Burns Harbor Cold Sheet Mill number 1 upgrade letter, and that is also opened on January 14th, 2014, right? The day you met with MJ Electric.
That is, yes.
And with respect to those two documents, why were you looking at those just before the meeting with MJ Electric?
Well, I'm not sure. It was just before the meeting with MJ, and I don't know if it's related to MJ. I can't, through the normal course of my work, I'm still doing my job at Sargent. I don't know that I can recall why I opened those at that time.
Okay. And then with respect to page 3 of 6, if you look at items 11, 12, and 13, we can go through them separately. January 23rd, as we just discussed, is the day on which you had your second meeting with MJ Electric, right?
Yes, it is.
And on that day, you're opening up, once again, your middle master estimate 50 sheet 3 times, right? Item 11, item 12, and item 13, correct?
It appears as such, yes, sir.
And just coincidence, or was there some particular purpose on that day while you were looking at the same day you were meeting with MJ Electric?
I don't know what exactly this is, if this is just an estimate, or there was a job on there that, I don't know. There was, as I told you before, I saved everything on my desktop to the point where I would have to clean it off occasionally. I don't know what exactly the particulars of that were.
So it could be just a coincidence, Mr. Frank, that on the 2 days that you're meeting with MJ Electric, you're calling up middle master estimate 50 sheets.
Could be, because we certainly didn't discuss anything about middle estimates at those meetings, Mr. Kelly.
Now, and with respect to I think you told me at your deposition that as it relates to the rates that you had for various customers, you'd also made hard copies of those, right?
There were some hard copies, and there was also the hard copies that were left behind my desk in the credential.
And as far as you know, this rate information that we've just been looking at could be on these missing USB devices, right?
It could be. Are you sure that this is rate information? Because it says middle master estimate?
Right.
This could be just be a job estimate.
And the job estimates have things included in them that would include things like markup and profits.
I'm the guy that marked those up and knew the profit. You have to do each job, so something like this.
Right. And they would have other confidential information, correct?
It could, but if you could explain exactly what this master estimate sheet contained. Well,
I don't have you don't have the USB device on your
you have the computer.
well, Mr. Frank, let me show you, if we go back to January 23rd for a second, and items 11, 12, and 13. This, if we look at for a second at Exhibit A, which is the tab with your devices on. On the morning of the 23rd, you had plugged in your USB 2.0 flash disk USB device Transcend, right?
What sheet was that again?
I'm sorry. It would be attachment A to Exhibit 101, and it would be page 2 of 2 of attachment A.
Okay. What was the statement?
And the question I had was, this reflects that on this date when you were opening these various middle master estimate 50 sheets, the time you were opening them, you had your USB flash disk device plugged in, right?
Is he asking, Your Honor, if that's what this document says, which has not been discussed and will be discussed by Mr. Lino, or if he recalls doing it? That's Mr. Frank certainly didn't prepare this document, and no one's discussed it yet. Certainly not Mr. Lino, who will be testifying later.
I'm asking him, Your Honor, well, we can't have it right back, but I asked him a straight question. Does he recall having this USB device plugged in at the time he was looking at middle master estimate 50 sheets?
That was not the question he asked.
Is that the question you want to ask him?
Yes.
Well, did you get that question, sir?
Would you repeat that, please?
Sure. Mr. Frank, do you recall having your USB device plugged into your computer on January 23rd at the time that you were opening and looking at these middle master estimate 50 sheets?
I couldn't, Counsel. I can't recall that date.
And if you look at another entry on this page, going back now to Exhibit M, L is Exhibit L.
And the page number, sir?
It would be page 3 of 6 of attachment L. Now, there are entries on the bottom of that page, item 27, and at the top of the next page, 4 of 6, item 28. That would reflect, and if we look at 28 first, it reflects that on January 16th, you opened a BP estimate sheet. Do you see that?
Okay, yes.
And if you look at item 27, do you recall copying onto a flash disk that day a copy of a BP estimate sheet?
I don't know that I could have. We had projects going at DP, and I was still managing them. We had multiple projects going at Mr. Kelly.
And if we look back at attachment A, on the same day that you could have been copying the BP estimate, you had your USB 2.0 flash disk USB device plugged in, right? If you look at page 2 of 2 of Exhibit A for 116.
That's what it says there, yes, sir.
And with respect to this flash drive, this has never been returned to Sargent, right?
I don't know that.
So if Sargent says it hasn't been returned to it, you certainly can't contradict that then, right?
No,
Mr. Frank?
that's what I would.
And with respect to people who were using your laptop on January 16th, was there anybody using your laptop other than you on January 16th?
Well, I couldn't say so. I would doubt it unless something was known. I would highly doubt it. But
And your laptop was password protected, right?
I would.
And it was in your office, right?
Well, Mr. Kelly, I never shut my laptop off. And the IT guys had my password too. And I'm not alluding to that, but I'm just making that clear for you. So
Yeah.
you wasn't that secure. One other thing on these flash drives, these were not controlled, Mr. Kelly.
Okay.
You know, these weren't handed out. Like here you have flash drive 9 through 10, and they're a controlled device. We use them in our everyday business.
Right.
Everybody uses them. So
Yep.
that was just standard. That was standard part of our daily routine.
Right. Okay, good. And Mr. Frank, with respect to January 23rd, was there anybody else using your laptop on January 23rd other than you?
I can't remember that, but I would doubt it.
Was it custom and practice at Sargent to have the IT guys sit right behind your desk and plug in USB devices and download BP estimate sheets and ArcelorMittal estimates?
No, I didn't say that. But
You're not suggesting that, right?
I'm not suggesting it, but oftentimes I needed some help because I would do something that I needed some help on the computer, and I often called the IT guy, but I didn't say that he sat behind me plugging in USB drives on the computer, Mr. Kelly.
Okay, now I get it. Thank you, Mr. Frank. And on January 16th, you know of anybody who was using your laptop other than you?
No, I can't recall that.
And would have been plugging in USB devices other than you?
I can't recall that.
For this entire list of USB devices, is there anyone other than you that would have been plugging in and opening and extracting and copying information from your computer onto USB devices during this period of time?
The only other person that plugged that I'm aware of right now is Rob Klein, the IT guy. He downloaded some software on my, some estimating software, and I think he used a Western hard drive device as well.
Okay, so Mr. Klein used a Western hard drive. As to these USB flash drives, he wasn't plugging in USB thumb drives or flash disks into your computer, right? You're not aware of that, right?
I'm not aware of that.
As far as you know, you're the only person who would have been doing that, right, Mr. Frank?
Right now, yes.
And in addition to the ArcelorMittal estimates we've been looking at, and now the BP estimate that we've been looking at, the other thing I wanted to refer you to is, and I think this is on page 3 or 6, but hold on one second. Yes, it is. So, Your Honor, and Mr. Frank, still staying on page 3 of 6 of attachment L. If you would also look for a second at items 22 and 23. Do you see those? In item 23, it shows that you were pulling up a 12-month project cash flow analysis on January 16th, 2014. Do you see that?
I do.
And you did that at 22/34/14, right?
So is that yes, sir?
And a minute later, and do you have any understanding of what C means? Is C a reference to your laptop?
I don't know.
And there's a reference to the same document, item 22E, at the hour 22:35:15. Do you see that?
Yes.
Showing the 12-month project cash flow analysis again, right?
Yes.
So you were looking at a cash flow project, you were looking at a project cash flow analysis at Sargent Electric on January 16th, just 8 days before you got your offer from Electric?
That's just a blank cash flow analysis, and we had done that for some jobs like the West Furnace and Indiana Harbor 7. It was just a form that was made years ago by Don Price. We could plug things, and I kept that on my desktop. Yes, sir.
Okay, and you were opening that up for what purpose then on that date, 12-month project?
Well, I can't answer that. Maybe I was looking at a project that had some, how it was built or what the cash flow was. I don't know. Maybe it even had for 7 Furnace. I can't tell you.
When you say it might have even been for 7 Furnace, what's that project about?
That's what Sargent's doing right now. We had one deal award for Arsenal in Indiana Harbor 7. It was the largest steel mill project that was going to go this year. And we won that for Sargent and worked up to that. We were working on that all the way up through Christmas.
And so, as far as you know, in this 12-month project cash flow, that's what you were looking at?
I don't know. I just made a comment. Can't find it.
And has anyone at MJ asked you where the USB devices are?
No. They had a forensic expert come in and check all our laptops, and nothing's been plugged into mine, or nothing's been downloaded on mine. So I know that I don't have any.
Did he talk with you?
He did.
The expert?
He was in my office.
Okay. Who was that?
I don't know his name.
When was he in your office?
When they hired him to bring him in to run the forensics on all the computers, I don't remember the name.
And what did he ask you?
He just asked me if this was my computer.
He asked
And
me
then he did his forensics and submitted a report.
And other than asking you, is that your computer, did he ask you anything else?
No, he didn't.
Has anybody else at MJ asked you anything else besides do you have an MJ laptop computer?
As far as what?
This relates to computers and USB devices.
No, I don't know why they would.
Well, I have your own.
Okay.
Short break, Your Honor, and then...
You want to take a little break? Okay, let's do that. All right, we'll take 10 minutes.
All rise.